Welcome aboard the Strange Express. My name is Dr. Scherzo Stantio. Today, the Strange Express is making a return visit to Parody. Today's subject, is a fictional crime fighter of old. The creative mind at the Strange Express felt the need to provide a look at this mostly forgotten epic fictional crime fighter, especially considering the current dearth of crime fighters and superheroes that is prevalent in current entertainment. We are calling our crime fighter the Green Hairnet. Unless you're a boomer like me, you may not even recognize who the Green Hairnet is based on. The character that the Green Hairnet was based upon originated not in the comic books, but on radio. As in radio before TV. 1930s radio. The engineer has just given the signal, so I believe that we're about to be on our way. I hope you enjoy the journey, and I'll see you on the return. There have been legends of many great crime fighters, but perhaps one of the greatest is all but a forgotten figure today. Sojourn with us now as we ride along with the most dashing of heroes in the harrowing adventures of the Green Hairnet and his faithful Reed Welch interrupted. That's Hairnet, the Green Hairnet. I'm sorry, Mr. Welch. I thought I heard someone pronounce it Hairnet. Yes, I've heard that too, but it's Hairnet. But please, continue. Sojourn with us now as we ride along with that most dashing of heroes in the harrowing adventures of the Green Hairnet and his faithful sidekick Blotto. The Dubious Duo wage a never-ending battle of wits with the evildoers and the criminals to make sure that they are caught in the web of the Green Hairnet. By the way, Mr. Welch, why do you call your sidekick Blotto? Looking a little annoyed, Welch responded. It sounded better than sloshed or pickled, but those days are over. He's always sober now. So, he's got his life in order then? The announcer asked. Not really, Welch replied. He just can't afford booze anymore. Have you seen the price of liquor these days? The announcer continued. The name of the Green Hairnet was legend among the underworld. Little did the underworld know that the Green Hairnet was actually Reed Welch, the Playboy publisher of the magazine Sentient Being. Welch started to get red in the face. I am not a Playboy, and the name of my magazine is Sentient Being. You know, bean, like in beans and rice. The announcer blushed. Again, I apologize, Mr. Welch. I was just reading what they have on the script. The announcer paused for a moment and then added, Bean, sir? Why would you call your magazine Sentient Being? Well, Welch answered, it's an anti-vegetarian magazine. You see, it's my theory that plants actually have thoughts and feelings, and that harvesting them and eating them is immoral. And furthermore, I get the picture, the announcer interrupted. I'll continue now. Little did the underworld know that the Green Hairnet was actually Reed Welch, philanderer publisher of the magazine Sentient Being. Welch rolled his eyes. The announcer continued. Today's adventure, the Virginia vampire thing in the alien's warehouse. Our story begins in the rundown apartment that Reed Welch shares with the only person that knows that the Green Hairnet is, in reality, Reed Welch. His chauffeur and valet, Blotto. Reed Welch is talking to Blotto. Let's listen. In Blotto, the teal thunderbolt is gassed up. And oh, speaking of gas, pregnant paws. This script says pregnant paws. Where's the writer? Those pauses can do whatever they want to on their own time, but they ain't doing that on my time. The announcer whispers something in Welch's ear. Oh, Oh, Welch says as his eyes widen. I understand. Sorry about that. Where was I? Oh yeah. Speaking of gas, make sure that the gas gun and the spare cylinders are in my squat, underpowered car, the Teal Thunderbolt. Blotto looked at Welch and said, I have the gas gun and the spare cylinders right here in the stuffle, but you aren't planning to go out in that heap again today, are you? I don't think that vehicle is safe to drive. Welch smiled and said, You'll be pleased to hear that I've purchased a new Teal Thunderbolt. It is a much newer vehicle. It's about time, Blotto replied. You know how hard it is to find parts for a 1971 Gremlin? I haven't been able to complete the repair since we got rear-ended by that probe back in '96. Oh, that reminds me. I've got an appointment for a colonoscopy next week. I'm going to need some time off. Welch replied, That shouldn't be a problem. Just write me a note so I don't forget. So, Blotto asked, when can I see the new Teal Thunderbolt? Welch answered, It's parked in the hidden garage, so if you want, we can go look at it now. I think you're going to be very impressed. I hope so, Blotto replied. I never understood why you called that 71 Gremlin the Teal Thunderbolt. It was lime green, and its top speed was 35 miles per hour. Is the new Teal Thunderbolt actually teal? Welch answered, Kinda, sorta. I'll let you be the judge for yourself. Let's suit up and go take a look at it, and then we'll take it for a spin. I've gotten word through the grapevine that the Virginia vampire thing has holed up in the old alien warehouse. I've developed a new formula for my gas gun, and I'm dying to try it out. Blotto said, I am impressed. How did you get the information on the location of the Virginia vampire thing's hideout? Welch answered, You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Blotto said, Try me. The announcer said it at the beginning of the show, Welch answered. Blotto replied, That guy's such a snitch. Having donned their disguises, the Green Hairnet and Blotto stepped through a secret panel in the rear of a closet in Reed Welch's bedroom and traveled along a small passageway built within the walls of the building. This passage led to an adjoining building, which fronted on a busy intersection. Though supposedly abandoned, this building served as a secret garage for the squad, underpowered Teal Thunderbolt transportation for the Green Hairnet. Entering into the super-secret garage, the Green Hairnet and Blotto are startled when two guys filming with their cell phones run out screaming and disappear into the darkness. Who the heck were they? Blotto asked. Urban explorers, the Green Hairnet replied. Lousy YouTubers, he added. Blotto found the hidden panel and turned on the lights that illuminated the new Teal Thunderbolt. Well, what do you think? The Green Hairnet asked. You've got to be kidding me, Blotto answered. He continued. I thought you said it was a newer vehicle. And it's a Pinto. It is newer, the Green Hairnet answered. It's a 1974, so it's 3 years newer. Blotto stood there, hand over his eyes, shaking his head. These things were junk when they were new. If we take this vehicle out, we'll have to keep a close eye on it to make sure that a cat doesn't try to bury it. Welch, trying to find a positive aspect, said, Just think of the money we'll save on gasoline. We may even be able to buy you a bottle of Mad Dog, or Black Crow, or one of your other favorite animals with the money we save. Blotto turned and glared at the Green Hairnet and mocked him, saying, Think of the money we'll save. Yeah, we can drive this car 1,000 miles and there'll still be enough gas in the tank to blow us to kingdom come. I remember reading about how these cars were notorious for catching fire after a rear-end collision. Trying to change the subject, the Green Hairnet said, Now, what color would you say that it is? Bronze? Rust, Blotto replied. Welch cracked a small smile, thinking that he'd steered the conversation to a more safe subject. I think you're right. It is somewhat rust-colored. I didn't say rust-colored. I said rust. As an oxidation, the whole thing is rusted. It's just a big pile of rust. Welch pointed to the logo. There's no rust there. Blotto looked to where the hairnet had pointed. Yeah, you're right. That's not rusted. But only because plastic doesn't rust. As Blotto packed the duffel into the back seat, he continued. Oh well, beggars can't be choosers. Let's get this show on the road. Blotto and the hairnet piled into the car, and Blotto turned on the ignition, and the car sputtered to life. That is, after about 10 tries. A section of the wall raised automatically and then closed as the squat, underpowered Teal Thunderbolt hobbled into the driveway. As they made their way toward the busy intersection, the Green Hairnet said, Let's go, Blotto! Hold your horses, Blotto replied. That's a busy intersection, and I don't want to get in an accident in this firebomb. Why didn't you make the secret garage exit onto a dark side street instead of the busiest intersection in the city? Blotto, the hairnet answered, you were a lot easier to get along with back when you were soused most of the time. Yeah, but I didn't have to do the driving back then either, Blotto snapped back. I'm sorry, the hairnet said. I shouldn't have said that. I'll change the subject. You really look sharp in your chauffeur's hat and mask. Thanks, Blotto answered. I have a question about your disguise. Why did you choose a green hairnet? Why a hairnet at all? Why not a mask or a cowl like all the other crime fighters? Well, the hairnet started, I did start off with a mask, much like the one you're wearing, but I found it obscured my vision, and as a result, I got beat up. A lot. So I sought out a disguise that would not obscure my sight, and I found that the hairnet gave me the best flexibility and range of vision of all the disguises that I tried. So, it reduced the number of beatings that you took, huh? Blotto asked. No, but at least I was able to see who and what hit me with crystal clarity, the hairnet answered. So, why a green hairnet? Blotto asked. Originally, it was a regular white hairnet, the hairnet answered. But after years of use and accumulated moisture from breathing through it, sneezes, runny nose, times when I was unconscious and drooled on it, and one time I even had a stomach flu and I yawned the Technicolor rainbow. Over time, the hairnet began to develop mold and mildew, and eventually it became the lovely emerald green color that you see today. Blotto, taking on a shade of green himself, replied, Thanks for sharing that with me. I wish I hadn't have asked now. I think that a very nice person is signaling that they will let you into traffic, the hairnet said, indicating the vehicle where a woman was gesturing at the teal thunderbolt. Nah, I was wrong. They're just pointing and laughing. After a brief pause of 45 minutes, the teal thunderbolt shinned its way into traffic. Arriving at the alien's warehouse, the hairnet straps on his gas gun, and he and Blotto sneak stealthily, skirting the rear of the building, and noiselessly entering in through an unlocked door into a darkened room. Ow! Be careful, Ray, Blotto whispered. Shh! I've told you 1,000 times. Don't call me by my real name when we're in disguise, the hairnet admonished Blotto. Well, there is something I need to tell you about that. Shh, the hairnet replied again. Suddenly, the lights come on and there's a great puff of red smoke, and standing before our insipid heroes is a tall, pale man, dressed in an ancient black suit, trimmed in red, and a long, flowing black cape. Wait just a minute, the hairnet yelled. The word is intrepid, not insipid. The announcer glanced at his script and then said, Must be a typo there. Again, Mr. Welch, I offer my most profound apologies. In exasperated tones, the hairnet yelled, And don't call me by my real name when I'm in disguise. The tall, pale man then spoke. I am the Virginia vampire thing, and you are now my prisoners. The hairnet turned and addressed the archvillain. So you're the Virginia vampire thing. Well, Virginia, it's good to meet you. You didn't happen to live in Kentucky a couple of years ago, did you? I knew a thing or two back in Kentucky, but no, it couldn't be. They were sweet young things, not a crotchety old thing like you. Are you really the Virginia vampire thing? Who were you expecting? The thing replied. Christopher Lee, and don't call me Virginia. You may address me as the highly exalted and gracious Mr. Thing. The hairnet replied, Surely you don't expect me to call you Mr. The Virginia vampire thing gave the hairnet a puzzled look and then said, First of all, you call me Virginia. Then you call me Shirley. If you're not willing to call me the highly exalted and gracious Mr. Thing, just call me Mr. Thing. And I shall call you Mr. Welch. Way to go, guys. I told you guys 1,000,000 times, don't call me by my real name when I'm in disguise. But no, you couldn't do that. Now this villain knows my real identity, just because you guys can't keep your mouths shut. I hate to interrupt you, interrupted the Virginia vampire thing, but they did not give away your real identity. Well, how did you learn my real identity then? The hairnet asked. The Virginia vampire thing answered, I would engage in a battle of wits with you, but it is against my principles to fight an unarmed man. So, I'll make it simple for you. When you have a spare moment, stand in front of a mirror with your disguise on, and look closely. I believe you will see that a hairnet over your face does absolutely nothing to disguise your identity. The hairnet turned to Blotto. What does he say? Blotto answered, It's true. I've tried to tell you many times, but he just wouldn't listen to me. The green hairnet appeared crestfallen. Oh, don't be that way, the Virginia vampire thing said cheerfully. I'm on your side. I was one of the premier subscribers to your magazine, Sentient Being. I'm against eating vegetables too. There are so many better sources of nutrition. I don't want you on my side, the Hairnet snapped angrily. You're a villain and I'm a crime fighter. The Green Hairnet pulled out his gas gun and pointed it toward the Virginia vampire thing. Really now? You can't scare me with that. I know that you only use gas guns, and even if it were a real gun, you would need to load it with bullets made of silver if you hope to stop me. Oh yeah? Take this then, the Green Hairnet replied, squeezing the trigger on his gas gun. The gun's odd report sounded like a whoopee cushion being slowly squeezed. The entire room filled with an odor that was a weird combination of open sewer, combined with the smell of skunk and of decaying flesh. The Virginia vampire thing, who was standing directly in front of the gas gun, was gagging, while at the same time holding his long black cape over his face, trying to use it as a filter. You give up? Or shall I gas you again? The Green Hairnet taunted the staggering villain. He hacked and sputtered and was finally able to cough out the words. I give up! I give up! Someone spray some Lysol! Someone bring an airwick! Eventually the air cleared and the Virginia vampire thing was trussed up for the police. The Green Hairnet spoke to the Virginia vampire thing. Sorry we had to leave you now, but the police are on their way. Reflect on your evil ways when you're in that dank prison cell. And remember, crime does not pay. The Virginia vampire thing snarled back at the Hairnet. Don't lecture me, Hairnet. I will never see the inside of a prison. When I tell them that I'm a vampire, they'll invoke the sanity clause, and I'll be sent to a cushy sanitarium. As the Green Hairnet and his faithful sidekick exited out the alien warehouse, the Green Hairnet was heard to shout back to the Virginia vampire thing. Well, I've got some bad news for you, Virginia. There ain't no sanity clause. Is it over? That was a short trip. I don't know who was more rude. The Virginia vampire thing was bad, but the Green Hairnet really had called. I doubt that he will ever show his face again. I'm sure he'll try not to anyway. Maybe I'll suggest that he try out a more substantial disguise. I had this idea. He should wear a pair of glasses when he's reading Welch, and when he becomes the Green Hairnet, he takes off the glasses. No one will recognize him then. And to make sure no one looks too closely at him when he assumes his identity as the Green Hairnet, he can wear brightly colored clothing, preferably something like tights and a cape. Oh, this is where you disembark? Once again, I thank you for taking the Strange Express. Hurry back, and until then, happy rails to you.